Well, good afternoon. Minneapolis is a good place to live for pedestrians. We're a walkable city and getting more walkable all the time, in no small measure because we have made investments in it that have led the way. And we're a safe city for pedestrians. Minnesota as a state ranks fourth in the nation for lowest pedestrian fatality rates behind Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Idaho. But we face challenges in maintaining safety for pedestrians. We already see the impact of more distracted driving from smartphones. In addition, we will see new challenges from new technologies, including self-driving vehicles. And the welcome growth of our city also presents challenges by increasing opportunities for collisions between pedestrians and vehicles unless we do something about it. Even one preventable death on our streets is one too many. Indeed, a pedestrian was tragically killed in a vehicle impact downtown just last week. We must do more, and we are. Tomorrow, we are prepared to take the next step, adopting and implementing a comprehensive program, most often called Vision Zero, to eliminate by the end of 10 years crashes that result in fatalities or serious injuries while increasing access for all. This will move forward in two key ways. Tomorrow morning, the city's Transportation Committee will take up a resolution that begins the process of developing the plan. Councilmember Reich is here and will speak next. And tomorrow at noon, my 2018 budget will include $400,000 in funding necessary for year one of Vision Zero. This work builds on a series of transformational steps that we have already taken, which are leading us irrevocably away from the past, when for decades we treated streets solely as funnels for moving cars out of the downtown as fast as possible, and to the cusp of a revolution in street design that I call Streets 3.0. In my first budget, I created a new transportation planning division to prioritize walkers, people with disabilities, cyclists, and transit riders within an equitable vision. Then, we fully funded our first protected bikeway network. Working closely with council members Lisa Bender, Cam Gordon, and Kevin Reich, we advanced Complete Streets to adopted policy. We hired a new public works director, Robin Hutchison, with the skills to lead toward our vision. And finally, after 3 decades of warnings that our residential streets were crumbling to the point of no return, and after nearly a decade of state cuts that dramatically hindered our ability to slow or forestall the decline, the City Council, the Park Board, and I enacted our 20-year Parks and Streets Investment Plan, historic and backed up by the real, ongoing funding I insisted on. It is important to emphasize that this cannot and will not be a plan designed or implemented by the city alone. To succeed in making people safer, and in order for it to be equitable, it must be designed through broad community involvement that recognizes historic inequities. And we must learn lessons from both the successes and the failures of other cities. That is why tomorrow is just a beginning of a strong community process. Across Minneapolis, in neighborhood after neighborhood, at corner after corner, just like this one, you can see that we are a city that is growing. Our population is back now to almost 420,000 people, more residents than at any time in the last 40 years. As the economic engine of Minnesota, we are also a city on the move. Growth and movement are good things. What we get to do with them is make sure we are managing our growth and our movement safely, equitably, and sustainably. The commitment we are announcing today and moving forward tomorrow is another step forward in that direction. It is another way that we are putting our values into action through planning and resources that will improve the lives of everyone who lives in, works in, invests in, visits, or just travels through Minneapolis. Thank you. Now, Councilmember Reich.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I think that really outlines what we're really intending to do. As you look around, the Mayor talks about a vibrant city. You can see it all around you. A lot of movement is taking place. Buses, bikes, pedestrians, cars, all converging, commingling, and moving about in a very rapid way. But we also want to make it a safe way. If you noticed, we're doing the work that the Mayor outlined with $400 million additional dollars. Concrete's getting torn up, infrastructure's being put in, and the stuff of a city is happening. But we don't want it just to be about movement and active environment in our right-of-way. We want it to be safe and safety first. The heart and soul of an engineer is always performance and safety, and that's going to be true still. But we want to have a multi-jurisdictional, multi-department approach to make sure that even as we can measure the dollars we put in infrastructure, we can measure the people who are safe and not injured, and it's quantifiable, it's real, and we will be accountable for it. And to that end, we want to make sure it is multiple jurisdictions and multiple departments, and the health department will be a big leader in this, as well as Public Works. And to that end, I give you the chair, Councilmember Cam Gordon, Chair of Health Committee.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm delighted to be here as chair of the Health Committee because this issue is about public health and it's about public safety. Traffic crashes are a major contributor to death among the youngest residents of our city. They account for about 40% of accidental deaths among 1 to 24-year-olds. And then they're the most common cause of accidental death in this age group. And every one of those could have been prevented. If ever we've had a preventable cause of death, it's traffic deaths on our streets. We want people to feel safe. We want people to be able to get around walking and biking. That's what the people of Minneapolis want. And by focusing in on this, 0 deaths due to traffic accidents, we have an opportunity to get there. And I'll just note, the more people we get walking and biking, also the healthier it is for them because they're biking and walking where they want to get. And they're going to do that more if they feel like it's safe. But it also can lead to healthier air for the rest of us as there are fewer cars on the road creating the air pollution. So this is a win-win-win, and I think it's something that we can be successful at. And I'm looking forward to digging in and working with my colleagues on this and developing the best in the country plan for how we can get to Vision Zero in the city of Minneapolis. And now I'm going to turn it over to the Public Works Director, Robin.
This always goes down. Good afternoon. I'm Robin Hutchison. I'm the Director of Public Works for the City of Minneapolis. I want to thank first and foremost the leadership that is standing behind me behind this effort of Vision Zero. We are standing here at 18th Avenue Northeast and Johnson Street. It's not pretty right now. You see behind you construction because we are in the process of making this safer for walking and for bicycling. In Public Works, we think a lot about street design. I'm joined by so many of our team members. Our entire transportation business line is here. Leadership from the city, Kathleen Mayel, the brains behind this thing we're doing today, who comes back to us from her homing. Her homing chip has brought us back to Minnesota, and we're so happy about that. We think a lot about street design. It's not enough. It's not enough to reach our goals of zero. And so enter the framework of Vision Zero. I know by this point you're asking, what is this thing, Vision Zero? It's quite simple. No loss of life on city streets is acceptable due to a crash. By working with the community and across disciplines, we feel we can reach this goal. It's real, it's measurable. Today's the start. Our work lies entirely ahead of us. So I'm going to talk in a little more detail about our action plan. What we're proposing to do, it first starts with a clear definition of our unique characteristics of Minneapolitans. We can build on successes from other communities. We can also learn and adapt so that here in Minneapolis, Vision Zero is synonymous with safety, access, equity, and life. We are proposing the creation of a specific action plan. There's 4 key elements that I want to share with you. The first is an extensive community engagement program. We have to understand our deepest issues, fully flesh out opportunities, and take extra care to work in all neighborhoods and with all people of our city. We will put equity at the heart of this work, and we will be reaching out to all of our networks, relying on partnership and support to hear many, many voices. The second piece is a more comprehensive approach to the way we collect and analyze data. At some point, the Public Works Director has to get a little bit wonky, and here it is. Today, we know that 76% of all of our crashes occur at just 13% of our intersections. 80% of all pedestrian crashes occur on 10% of our roadway miles. We have this data, but this may not be enough to understand exactly why this is happening and to who. So our data analysis and practices will become more robust, and we will dive deeper. Third point, collaboration. I'm very proud of what Public Works has achieved. Our teams are the best in their class. They're the best at what they do, and you see improvements all over the city to fill sidewalk gaps, to build protected bike lanes, to expand our Safe Routes to School program, to put in so many marked crosswalks going in just this summer. We have to partner with many disciplines in order to reach our goals, and that will include education and communication and looking at legislation, just to name a few. There are so many ways that we have to come together to really protect all of our roadway users, and in particular, the most vulnerable among us. We have to look at some staggering statistics. We have to look at these statistics on our most vulnerable users. 9 out of 10 pedestrians hit by a car traveling 20 miles an hour will survive. Only one of those will survive if they are hit by a car going 40 miles an hour. There is data and evidence to support these statistics, and we have to change that. So we can solve some problems with our street design. We can solve many more problems by collaborating with internal partners, external partners, the county, MnDOT, Metro Transit, with our community organizations to create this action plan. Last, and very shortly, metrics. We should know if what we're doing is making a difference. In our action plan, we will include metrics that we will report back to the community, our elected leaders, and so that we know if what we're doing is making a difference. So these topics are sometimes very uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to report that we've had 106 people die in the last 10 years on city streets. That is very uncomfortable. I believe that with the mayor's commitment and the council members' commitment, those who are standing behind me, as well as those who are standing in front of me, our teams that are here supporting today, health, the attorney's office is here, so many of you, we can reduce that by 106 to 0 by 2027 with Vision Zero. So thanks so much for the opportunity to talk today. I appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it to my friend and partner, our city attorney, Susan Siegel.
Hi, I'm Susan Siegel. I'm the Minneapolis City Attorney. And it's our job in our office to prosecute traffic cases that result in death or serious injury unless they're involve gross negligence or felony level crimes. And I'll tell you that the prosecutors in my office have all too often handled too many cases where deaths were avoidable. Just this last year, our office prosecuted 3 pedestrian death cases. All the cases involve left turns, and all the cases involve pedestrians walking in a designated crosswalk where there were streetlights, where they had the green and they had the clear pedestrian signal. There was no flashing orange hand even. And these drivers went ahead and made a left turn, obviously, without even looking where they were driving, even though cars are in fact a deadly weapon. People lost their mothers, their fathers, their grandparents, their siblings, and loved ones. And I, for one, along with all of these amazing leaders behind me, our great Public Works Department and others in the city, have had enough. We can do better, and we will do better, and I am so excited at this initiative, and I really look forward to the great work that we have ahead of us so that we can, in fact, achieve Vision Zero. Thanks.
Well, we hope this to not be an exercise of pointing fingers, but looking at data. And the data, where the data goes, we should go. And if it's someone else's right away, we're going to call upon partnership and not the blame game. And so I'm very committed to those conversations, as is the leadership team behind us. And as far as I can tell, our jurisdictional partners do not reject the notion of safety first.
I know you're talking about, and this is for anybody, I know you're talking about enforcement or prosecutions. Are there any thoughts about ordinance changes and maybe jumping some of these?
It is too soon to say. There may be some ordinance or regulatory changes, but this will be part of a whole process. So important pieces are education, awareness, the smarter design, and marking of crosswalks that Public Works has already started putting into place, because that's as much of an effort here as the enforcement arm.
So before we get that, I just want to address the regulatory piece that you asked. Right now, the city has their hands tied by state legislation that won't allow us to lower the speed limits to what we believe would be a safer standard on some roads. We cannot lower it below 25 miles an hour, and as you just heard today, cars that are going 20, you're more likely to survive that kind of a crash. So one of the first things we're doing is appealing to the state legislature to give us some flexibility to realize this. I don't know if Susan wants to answer the question about enforcement,
I
or
can
Robin.
give
Okay.
a pretty general answer. We really are at the start of this, and we're going to first start with a lot of investigation of what our issues are, and that may lead to very specific recommendations. And what I want to say is stay tuned. We're bringing you in at the very start. We will be taking about a year and a half to make sure we do this right, and along the way we'll have more information on specific recommendations.
Robin, you mentioned, I guess you're probably going to consider 106 deaths in the last decade. Do you know what the numbers are of total pedestrian crashes for last year and then maybe for 2015? Not to completely put you on the spot, but
Well, you have, and that's quite all right. We do have those numbers, and I'm happy to follow up with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a variety. In our 3 cases, people were not looking where they were driving when they were making left turns. And just put down your phone. I mean, that's one legislative thing we may well be looking at. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. Put down your phone and watch where you're driving. And also, there's a disproportionate number of older people who wind up being victims of pedestrian car crashes. And older people tend to walk more slowly. And in one of our cases that happened on Hennepin Avenue, right in the middle of downtown Minneapolis, there was a group, you can see it clearly on the video, there was a group of pedestrians. The driver looked up, saw the group, saw that they were over, in the other lane, thought there was a clear view, was looking for an address or something else, I don't know, but was not looking where he was driving. And there was a little bit of an older woman who walked a little more slowly than the group, and he plowed right into her. And those videotapes are just shocking at how careless people are. And we're so used to driving every day that we just don't think about the damage. And the defendants in these cases will be living with the fact that they have killed somebody through their own carelessness. And that's the worst sentence of all, I think, for all of them.
So I will also want to point out that with bicycling, we've had a number of semi-trucks taking a right turn and killing a bicyclist. So there are patterns, whether it's the road or the type of turn or how it's set up. We're also concerned about multi-lane roads where there's more than one threat. Someone will think somebody stopped, they're crossing the street, and then in the next lane the cars are coming and we'll have an accident there. But these are things we want to drill into and we do have information on.
So I'll let Robin speak, but I just want to reiterate for everybody, this is the beginning of a process so that we have the full community process that we're going to have, that we bring people in to have the conversation, based on data that we will be gathering about what is it that we need to do and what are the best methods to do it. But I will also let Robin answer your question.
Do we have any data related to road rage around construction?
I think the answer to that question is no.
Yes, you're right. The question was, do we have data related to road rage around construction? We do not have data on that. We have anecdotes, no data.
On another matter, Mayor, one of your challengers is calling on the city to help people suffering the hurricane. Is that something you think that the city should be doing or can do?
First, I'd like to focus today to stay on Vision Zero and what we're doing for pedestrians. I'm happy to talk to you after.